Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about something you probably have in your pocket, your camera, or your phone right now. It's a piece of tech that's so common we kind of take it for granted, but it's absolutely essential to our digital lives. I'm talking about the small but mighty memory card.
You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You've got the perfect shot lined up, that once-in-a-lifetime video moment, or you're just trying to download a file you desperately need. And then, bam, the storage full message. It has to be one of the most frustrating things in our digital world.
Well, luckily, there's a simple, elegant solution to that digital headache. And yeah, you guessed it, that's where our subject for today comes in. So let's just start with the basics. What even is a memory card? Okay, so at its core, it's just a portable storage device for all our digital stuff. Our photos, videos, games, you name it. Now, the key term here is non-volatile. Sounds a bit techy, right? But all it really means is that the data stays put. It doesn't just disappear when you turn the power off. Think of it like writing in a notebook. The words are still there the next day. It's permanent storage. So why should you even care about these tiny little plastic rectangles? Well, turns out they matter a whole lot more than you might think. Let's really dig into why they're so important. First off, let's talk about the physical side of things. I mean, the advantages are pretty obvious, but they're huge. They're incredibly portable. You can literally fit terabytes of data in the palm of your hand. They're also built to be pretty tough, to handle the bumps of daily use. And the versatility, it's amazing. The same card can often jump from your camera to your drone to your Nintendo Switch. And here's the kicker. It's almost always way cheaper than upgrading your device's built-in storage. And then you've got the functional benefits. The big one, of course, is just instantly adding more space to your device. Boom, more room. But they also make moving files around a total breeze. Just pop the card out of one gadget and into another. No cables, no fuss. Plus, they act as a physical backup for your most precious data. And if you're into serious photography or videography, a high-speed card isn't just nice to have, it's absolutely essential for performance. All right, so what's the magic happening inside that tiny little package? How does it all work? Well, it all comes down to a really cool technology called flash memory. Let's peek under the hood and see how it works. You know, it's actually a surprisingly simple process when you break it down. First, your data, your picture, your video, gets converted into an electrical charge. Then, that charge gets trapped inside millions and millions of tiny memory cells. The analogy of a light switch that remembers if it was on or off, even when the power's cut, is perfect. That's exactly why your data stays safe and sound, even when the card is just sitting in a drawer. Okay, listen up, because if you're ever planning on buying a memory card, this next part is absolutely for you. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty of decoding all those symbols and letters on the card. Understanding these standards is crucial, because trust me, not all cards are created equal, and the wrong one just won't work. First, let's tackle something called the file system. You might see FAT32 on older, smaller cards. Now, its biggest problem is a 4 GB file size limit. And in today's world, that's a huge issue, especially if you're shooting high-quality video. A few minutes of 4K footage can easily be bigger than that. That's why modern cards use what's called exFAT. It completely gets rid of that size limit, making it absolutely essential for anyone working with 4K video or other large files. All right, now for the big one, capacity. As you can see from this table, the standards have evolved like crazy. We started with standard SD cards at 2 gigs or less. Then came SDHC, or high capacity, which took us up to 32 gigs. After that, we got SDXC for extended capacity, a massive jump up to 2 terabytes. The latest one, SDUC for ultra capacity, is just mind-boggling, aiming for up to 128 terabytes. But here's the thing, capacity is only half the story. The other critical factor is speed. A slow card and a fast camera will cause major problems. You'll see ratings like a U3 or a V30 on a card. That V is for video speed class, and a V30 means it can write at least 30 megabytes per second, guaranteed. This is so important. Using a slow card for 4K video is like trying to fill a swimming pool with a garden hose. It just can't keep up, and you'll get errors, corrupted files, or just totally lose your footage. So please, always match the card's speed to what your device needs. Now, while SD cards pretty much rule the world these days, they're not the only game in town. Let's take a quick tour of some of the other players, both past and present, that you might run into.
First up, of course, is the undisputed king, Secure Digital, or SD. This is the one everybody knows, including its tiny little cousin, the microSD card. It is the standard for pretty much every consumer device you can think of today.
Now for a bit of a throwback. You might still see these around, especially in the pro world. This is the compact flash, or CF card. Developed way back in 1994, these things are way bigger and tougher than SD cards. Think of them as the tank of memory cards. That's why they're still used in some high-end professional cameras and industrial gear, where being tough is what matters most. Remember when every company had its own special connector? Well, this is the memory card version of that. Meet the memory stick. This was Sony's baby, introduced back in '98. If you had a Sony camera, a Sony camcorder, or even a Sony computer back in the day, this was the card you had to use.
And now let's jump to the absolute cutting edge. We're talking formats like XQD and CFexpress. These are the modern powerhouses. They're built for one thing: handling the insane demands of today's professional cameras and video recorders. We're talking massive files, super high resolutions, and data speeds that are just ridiculously fast. These cards don't even break a sweat. Okay, so after all that, what's the big takeaway here? Let's wrap things up by boiling it all down to a simple list of pros and cons. So, let's look at the trade-offs. On the one hand, the advantages are awesome. They're super portable, incredibly versatile, and a fantastic, low-cost way to get more storage. But, on the other hand, there are downsides. They're usually slower than your device's built-in storage. They can get corrupted, which is heartbreaking. And because they're so tiny, they are ridiculously easy to lose. Plus, yeah, you'll probably need a separate card reader to get your files onto a computer. And that brings us to one final big question. As more and more of our data lives in the cloud, what's next for these tiny physical storage powerhouses? Are they going to become a niche tool just for professionals? Or will they evolve and find totally new roles we haven't even thought of yet? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for tuning in to this explainer.